Thanks for checking out another clip of the Cashflow Contractor. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. Click subscribe wherever you get your podcast. First one that we talked about ahead of time was the morning huddle. We had Chad Prinky on recently. He has a podcast called The Morning Huddle. And that's one of the first things that he says companies need to implement right away. I think a great morning huddle is not necessarily your entire staff of 25 people. It's just your crews. Each crew has a leader, and that crew lead is the one that's running the morning huddle. So I think something that you were talking about is having an emphasis on mission and values. Why do you feel like mission and values are so important to address with your team and really have at the front of everything you do?
So good to have that kind reminder of why are we here and what are we doing. A company might have a handful of different values that it has posted on the wall in the main office. But what is it that the crew is trying to accomplish today that you can really emphasize one of those values? Talk about what you did yesterday and what you plan on doing today and how it ties to those values. So if it's really embedded within the culture, it shouldn't be that hard to really be able to kind of highlight a value. It might be a quick high five on someone that really exemplified one of those values yesterday, and giving them a celebration and a shout out in front of their peers can be really great.
Yeah.
And really making it concentrated to a small group really helps to feel a sense of accomplishment for the entire group so that they can cheer one another on together and it not be distilled by other groups that are focused on other things.
Yeah. I mean, people want to be recognized, right?
Mhm.
Like when I do the dishes at home and clean up around the house, I want to be recognized, right? Same thing happens with our employees. Like they want to be recognized for the work that they're doing. And when I'm, on a team and I recognize and I see that someone else is being recognized for something good, it makes me want to live up to that standard too.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I think there's usually not enough recognition. It's really easy as the owner of a construction company or even a high level manager to just get bogged down with everything going on. You're worried about budgets. You're worried about what's going on each project and delays, and all these things are going on, and so it's really miss a lot of the recognition our recognition opportunities that go by you every single day. So
Mhm.
just rather than waiting on the trigger to be, oh, I saw that and I'm going to recognize it. It's really, if you can have that morning huddle where it's a dedicated time, 15, 20 minutes every single morning, and you show up and okay, one of the things I have to do today is recognize an employee. What's something I've seen? Hey, have you seen, what do you think about Juan over here? What has he done today or this week that should be recognized? Oh, that's awesome. During the huddle, will you point that out?
Mhm.
Hey, I wanted John here to make sure that he recognizes one day he had something to share. Why don't you share that during the huddle? So by having a rhythm of that morning huddle that's
Yes.
dedicated to the recognition opportunity is great. And it's always good if you can tie the recognition, not just something great they did, but how it applies to your values as a company. And that reinforces it a lot better. Obviously to do some of this stuff, it's really good to have your values outlined if you don't have those already. And if your values aren't, we have several episodes about this, but if your values aren't very actionable and they're very abstract, like
Mhm.
integrity, which is fine. It means something, but it's really, I mean, like, why not just be real? Or why
Absolutely.
not do the right thing? Right. So that's a lot easier to understand. It's words that we use every day. That's going to be much more actionable for your team.
Absolutely.
Um,
And taking some of
yeah.
those highlights from the morning huddle, and maybe the leader on that job site is reporting that back to HR so that maybe
Yeah.
those could be brought forward in a larger company setting as a recognition of something out of the ordinary and really elevate that recognition.
Yeah. And I think the last point I'll have on this morning huddle is just like it's so important to start off the new hire in the right manner and have the great onboarding process and the first impression. Your morning huddle is your first impression for the day.
Yeah.
Rather than just showing up to the job site, this person's late, that person's going on. Hey, we don't start until everyone's here on time. We have our morning huddle and we set the tone for the day. We set the direction
100%.
for what we're focused on, what we're trying to accomplish. And we've covered the employee retention aspect of doing some recognition, sharing a value highlight, restating our mission and direction, but also, hey, what are we going to finish on this project day? What is the objective? You get to set all of that out as well, which not only will help your project move forward correctly, it gets everyone on the same page, and it helps them to be clear on what they're doing. I think one of the biggest reasons people leave a job is unclear expectations. So having that morning huddle can set those expectations really clearly. So I think that's a huge out. And if you're not doing a morning huddle with your teams, this is probably the most valuable one of the ones that we're going to give that you can do right now.
Absolutely. And what I love about it too is it can be done in the field. It can be done in the office. I have an 8 a.m. meeting every day. We're all remote employees. It's about what was significant yesterday, what's significant today, and what I'm focused on. And we have a better sense of what each person is, their priorities are for the day, so that we can help support one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And this one, as we go through, really honestly, the rest of these maybe, it can be thought of, I can see a lot of contractors think that's just going to be another time suck and a waste of maybe even some overhead expenses. But the reality is, if you don't retain the employee, you're looking at overhead expenses. You're looking at paying a recruiter. You're looking at, posting at job ads. You're looking at, wasting time on training.
So much time.
So do you want to have the higher overhead expense later on, or do you want to have some smaller ones up front? So implementing a one-on-one cadence for you and your team. This can be very similar to the morning huddle in terms of the crew leader does one-on-ones. And I think this can be seen as a waste of time, but don't set the expectations too high. You're not doing an hourly one-on-one with each person on the crew every single week. It doesn't have to be that. One-on-ones can be 15 minutes. They can be once a month. They can be every other week. I think that has to probably be inside of that month range. If you start doing it quarterly, it becomes like, well, what are we doing? It has to be regular enough that it's like a rhythm. But I think I do this with my employees. I'm not a construction company, but the way that I approach one-on-ones is, hey, this is your time as the person I manage, right? This is your time to approach me with anything you want to talk about, personal, professional, whatever it is. And if we need to discuss something that's on the job, if there's a challenge going on, fine, that's great. Let's do that. But ideally, that's not how we approach it all the time. I actually want to hear about what's going on with you. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? What's something you're struggling with? Where do you see things going? What are you interested in about the company? What are you interested about the next project? How can we help you get more integrated and build a deeper connection with not only me, but with our company? That's my approach to it. What do you think?
No, I love what you're saying. And I think it's important to note that the manager doesn't have to be the one setting the agenda. It can be the employee that's coming to the meeting with saying, this is what I would like to talk about. You could have guidelines, kind of a general idea. What are the challenges that you're facing? What did you learn recently? But really things that are looking forward. So this isn't a performance review. This isn't to hammer down on certain things. Those should be taken care of in a very particular cadence based on how severe they are, obviously. This is a time to really level set again about what's the next step. What are some things that I can help you with? And it really is up to the employee to come with what they want to talk about. I know I keep a running list of things that I know I'm going to talk about in my one-on-one. My leader is very busy on a day-to-day basis and has different priorities. So to me as an employee, it's important that I'm kind of keeping that list of these are the things that I need clarity on, but I don't necessarily need to interrupt and go and take time off of what I'm doing or what they're doing in order to get that clarified. So I think it's also from a retention standpoint, it gives some power to the employee to be able to say, I have this time that I can talk about something that is really important to me. And that gives that notion of being heard. I mean, how many of us in both our personal and professional life, it's important to be heard. And so giving that space and giving that cadence is important for retention.
Thanks for checking out a clip from the Cashflow Contractor. We have full episodes where we go deep on topics that help you grow a construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, more money. Now, we've got other videos, other clips, but if you want to check out the full episode for this clip, you can click wherever our editor put it. It might be here, might be there, might be over my face, I don't know. But thank you for checking us out. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. So subscribe or check out a full episode wherever you get podcasts.